It's super important that you fix your horse's straightness without twisting yourself. So a lot of times, like, people will kind of like collapse like this as they're trying to push their horse off the inside leg, and that really doesn't help. Hello, in this video I'm talking about straightness in the canter. It is the hardest to straighten your horse in the canter because two reasons. First of all, the canter is a naturally asymmetric gait, meaning there's a left lead and a right lead, so your horse is already using their body asymmetrically. Secondly is because horses' hips are naturally wider than their shoulders. So, for example, if I put Mercurio here right on the rail and I line his left shoulder and his left hip up on the rail, let me get him to square up here. The right hind will be a little more to the inside just because his haunches are wider than his shoulders. So part of when we straighten our horses is we want to get this inside hip more underneath and carrying more weight. So basically I want to squash this right hip in between the two front legs, and that's what we call Shoulder-Fore. A couple of notes about straightening your horse in the canter. It is the most difficult gait to straighten your horse. So you definitely want to, do as much straightening and suppling work as you can in the trot and in the walk before you try to straighten your horse in the canter, because it's the most difficult gait, and especially because if your horse knows flying changes, a lot of times when you go to straighten them, they just do a flying change instead. So let me just first get my canter how it should be. So if I just ride him down the rail and I don't think at all about straightness, and I just kind of put his left shoulder on the rail, what you can see is that his right hip is to the right. And I have these nice markers on my saddle so that you can see the straightness and how he's carrying himself. Okay, so this time I'm gonna think a little more about straightening him in the canter. One of my favorite exercises to work on straightness in the canter is I'm gonna turn a little early, and then I'm just gonna ride a very gradual leg yield in shoulder in feeling. And when I get to the rail, I'm gonna try to keep that Shoulder-Fore positioning. And with Mercurio, when I straighten him, it's harder for him because he has to take more weight on his inside hind leg. So my inside leg is at the girth. I'm saying, hey, you've got to take more weight on your right hind leg. And you'll see him kind of want to like dive down, pull on the bit. He tries a lot of little, evasions, not because he's bad, but just he's like, hey, being straight is really hard. There you go. Boy. And so then if you're having trouble with getting your horse straight at the canter, what I would recommend is go back and work on it in the trot, because you can see how here when I go to the trot and I put him in shoulder in the trot, it's a lot easier. He stays lighter in my hand. He doesn't fuss quite as much. So definitely fixing the straightness first in the trot is easier. And the trot is also naturally a symmetrical gait, right? So it's a 2-beat gait. Your horse moves in diagonal pairs. Oh boy. So I'm gonna change direction and then show you the left lead. It's very normal that your horse is straighter on one lead than the other. So first I'm just going to show you what happens naturally. So if I don't consciously think about straightening him, and if I just put his right shoulder and his right hip on the rail, he's going to be just a little bit haunches in. So straightening your horse because their hips are wider than their shoulders, really getting your horse straight and getting their inside hind under them is something that requires constant attention to detail. And straightness is super important because, it's the prerequisite to collection. So I'm going to do my little turn early, leg yield, and now shoulder in. And definitely for Mercurio, it's a lot easier on the left lead than the right lead. And my guess is that his left hind is probably just a little bit stronger than his right hind, because when I ride my Shoulder-Fore left, he stays much more rhythmic. I feel myself leaning a little to the left there. He stays in better self-carriage. And that's another really important point about straightness, is that when you feel like your horse is crooked, it's super important that you fix your horse's straightness without twisting yourself. So a lot of times, like, people will kind of like collapse like this as they're trying to push their horse off the inside leg, and that really doesn't help. So always remember to use your leg to fix your horse and get your horse straight, but then you've got to remember to sit straight. Okay, I'm gonna go and work on the right side one more time, because he needs more work on the right side. Most horses are weaker on their right hip. So let me know in the comments if that's your horse, if you feel like your horse is weaker on the right hind. And a lot of these horses that are weaker on the right hind, they'll want to fall in on the right hand circle. They'll want to travel, especially in the right lead canter. They'll want to travel with their haunches more to the inside. And I definitely feel like that's the case with Mercurio. So I'm trying to really line his right hip up to his left shoulder. Make sure I'm sitting on my right seat bone. Try to keep myself straight, even though it's hard. And he says, this is hard. I'm gonna shake my head. I don't like my mane flopping up by my ears. Boy. Sometimes then what I'll do too is make it a little easier. So make a circle, and you can think about riding that Shoulder-Fore positioning on the circle line, or sometimes doing a little Shoulder-Fore just slightly off the rail can help, because some horses get a little claustrophobic, like feeling the rail right there, that they're like, oh, I don't want to hit the rail. So, oh boy, that feels softer. But then remember that straightening your horse is a process. It takes time to get your horse supple and strong evenly on both hind legs. So work on it a little bit and then go back and do some circles and work on getting your horse supple, or go to the easier side and then come back and work on the straightness again. It is a process, and you're never done straightening your horse. The standard for getting your horse straighter gets higher and higher as you move up the level.